guys, it's Loves to Loom here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create my own original Amandalyn bracelet. I am in love with this, so I hope you guys like it. I think the middle has such a cool effect here. And the back side has the same sides, but the middle is different. So it is reversible if you'd like. It does take a lot of bands. It took about 224 bands to make a full wrap, so be aware of that before you start making it. And this is my all opaque version here, so that still has a nice effect to it as well. So yeah, I hope you guys like it, and without rambling on, let's go ahead and get started. To make this bracelet, you will want to have at least 5 bar pins wide, but for a full wrap, I recommend 10. You want them in a staggered position like so. Make sure the beginning's in a V like that. Just have 5 here, and then the next 5 set up right in front. Also have the arrows facing away from you and have 1 C-clip. And I'm going to use 5 different colors today, so you might want to get those ahead of time. But the first few bands that we're just going to lay right here, down at the very beginning in a V, is going to be this side band here. And that's going to be whatever you want for your border color. So I'm going to grab purple. We're going to drop 1 here at the beginning for when we close it up. And then we'll lay just the V bands right here. So 2 out to the left and then bring it to the right. Like so. That's all we're going to do with that color for now. So now you can switch colors. And the next color we're going to lay is going to be whatever you want your zigzag color to be here. So I'm going to use white for that. So we'll come where we stopped the purple bands, come to your corners, and we're just going to lay zigzag bands all the way up. So I'm just going to do my right side first. So you start by bringing it in, bring it out, back in, back out, and we'll keep repeating that all the way up the loom. If you've ever seen the diagonal bracelet by Loom Love, it reminds me a lot of that for this part. It's not done exactly the same, but it is very similar. And that's actually where I got the idea from a long time ago when I made her double. Actually, I designed the double diagonal based off her diagonal, which is how I came up with this. Yeah, a lot of rambling, I know. Got a little tongue twisted there. So we would do this to the end of the loom. Now you do want your zigzag to end going outwards. You don't want to end it going inwards. So I'll show you when I get down there. And we can't go to the very, very end of the loom because we're going to need room to bring it in. So I'm actually going to bring it out like so, and I'm going to stop there. So 2 pins shy of the end is where you're going to stop, making sure it's outwards. You do not want to bring it in. We're going to use our border color to bring it in later. So now that I've done my right side zigzag, we're going to come over to the left side and do the same thing, starting on the corner. You're going to bring it in and out, just like we did on the right side. So to save on some time, I'm going to go ahead off camera to lay my left side, and I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so if you've done everything correctly, it should look like this now on both sides. So push them down, and we're going to come back to the beginning. And now we are going to start laying some bands on the centers. Now this first set of bands that we're going to be laying are going to be the dark blue in the middle here. So the navy blue bands in there. You don't see the navy blue from the back, just the front. And the way that we put them on can be a little difficult, but there's 2 ways you can do it, which can make it easy. So I'm going to use turquoise for these bands. And I'll show you the easy way first. So you can lay it horizontally across the 2 pins like that, and then grab your hook, grab it from behind, make sure you have the entire band, and you're going to stretch it forward and attach it to the pin in front. So that's the easier way. So you can just go all the way up, laying horizontal bands like that on each pin, and then come back, grab your hook, pull it forward like that. Or if you feel that you can do excuse me, if you feel like you can do it easily, you can just grab it, wrap it around that middle pin, and then come back and attach it. So that is completely up to you what you think is easier, but the goal is to have it wrapping around that pin like so. I usually lay them and then use my hook. I find it a little easier, but I thought I'd give you that choice. And the band may not get as twisted doing it with your hook. So that's how I'm going to do it. So I showed you a couple that way. Now I'm just going to lay the rest like so. Now the only pin that we are not going to lay this on is the very last one. So I'll show you which one when we get there. Okay, so I was going to say don't lay it on the last pin, which would be here, but not realizing we don't even have the bands on here yet, so you wouldn't have laid one there anyway. So make sure you stop here where the last zigzag bands come in. That should be your last one there. Now we can come back to the beginning, and if you haven't already, grab your hook and make sure you pull them all forward. I'm going to go ahead and finish doing the ones I haven't done. And just make sure you don't pop the band off as you're doing it. So I'm going to take a second and make sure to pull all of these forward, and I'll be back in just a moment. Alrighty, so I have completed doing that part now, so it should look like this. So now we need to actually do the exact same thing on the center pins, except we need to lay it the opposite direction. So push them down some, come back to the beginning. I'm going to switch to my pink. And the band that we're laying now is going to be this one that you see crossing in the center where my white is. So that's the one that we'll actually be laying right now. And you can do it the same way. So we're actually not going to lay it on this first pin here. So skip these, come up to the next set, bring it straight across, like so. Then you can use your hook and just pull it back behind this pin here, like that. As I said, I'm going to go ahead and just lay them off first. You can always do it this way too, where you're swinging it around the back of the pin and attaching it like so. Whatever is quicker for you, I'm going to go ahead and just lay all my horizontal bands, and then I'll use my hook afterwards and pull it down. That one feels kind of stretchy. Definitely make sure you push the first bands down some, because they're going to be in your way for sure. So I'll be back in just a second after I'm done with laying these pinks. For now, your last one should be laid exactly where your last one was laid, which is where your zigzag bands come in at. So lay your last one there for now, and then later after we lay the border bands, we will lay one more up here. But for now, just do it like that. And if you did it like I did, now you're going to want to go back through, use your hook, grab the entire band, and just pull it back behind the pin like so. This will not be the last time that we fiddle with these middle bands. When we lay the center single chain, we're going to need to mess with these again, so just be advised of that. So I'm going to quickly go ahead and do this part, and I'll be back in just a second. Alrighty, so make sure your loom looks like this. If you're not caught up yet, you can certainly hit that pause button. So now we are going to lay some single chain bands on the second and fourth row here. So that is going to be, well, at least the color I use is the same color I use for the border, since on the back side you can see the same color band. So it looks like that's all one band, but it's really not. So you can use a different color here than you use here if you'd like, but I'm going to use the same one, which will be purple. So we're just going to start on these pins here and lay a single chain straight forward like this. And we'll go all the way up. And if I didn't tell you, you're going to want to push those bands down, those middle bands, before you lay this, because they will be in the way if you don't. So for the single chain that we're laying right now, we are actually going to pass this part. You don't want to stop here. You want to go past it and connect it one more forward like so. So make sure you pass that zigzag side, and then we'll come back to the beginning and do the same thing for our left row over here, row 2. So go ahead and get that single chain laid. I'm going to get mine laid, and I'll be back in just a moment to show you what we're going to lay next. Alrighty, so this is what it should look like right now. So you can go ahead and push them down, and before we go any further, whatever color you were using where my pink is, the one that we were pulling down and around the pin, grab that now. And we're going to come up here to the beginning, and we're going to lay that now. So right where you end it, those single chains, just lay that straight across. Then grab your hook and pull it behind the pin, like so. Okay, so now we are going to move on to our outer border bands, which again, I'm going to use purple, and that is just these bands here. So the same simple band laying, single chains up the sides. I'm just going to start over here on my right, and we're going to take it all the way up, and then we'll bring it in at the top. I know it's a lot of bands, so sorry guys. Thanks for your patience, because this one is a sort of long design to make. So when you get up here to your corner, where your zigzag ended, that's where you're going to bring it in, like so. And then we're going to take it in one more time, connecting it to the very top pin there. We'll come back down and we'll do the same thing on the left side. So since this is very basic, I'm going to go ahead and get it done, and I'll be back in just a second so we can lay our last bands in the center. Okay, so this is what it should look like after we have all of those laid. So now what we're going to do is actually turn our loom around to lay our middle bands, because we have to lay a band and then loop a band at the same time. So turn your loom around, make sure you've pushed everything down. We're actually going to start at, once you have your loom with the arrows facing you, we're going to be starting at the back side of the loom up here, or I guess you can consider it the very top of the loom. So I'm going to be using gray, and the color that we're laying now is the very center, which is the gold here. So what we have to do is we're going to lay a single chain, but we're going to lay one at a time. So we're going to lay one. Once you lay that, we then need to grab our hook, and we're going to grab this horizontal band. It's the very bottom band on that pin. You're going to grab that. It should be two bands. Well, it's one band, but it's like doubled in there. And you're going to lift it up and over the pin and release it. It's locked in there. You can't really see mine because my loom is facing away, but you'll see it in front of you. So it's not going to go anywhere. It gets like locked behind there. So we're going to do that again. Grab your next band. Lay that on the next pin in front of it. Grab your hook, grab the bottom bands here, bring it up and release it over the pin like so. Lay your next band, do the same thing. Grab the bottom set of bands, lift it up and release it behind the pin. So we need to do that all the way down the loom. Just make sure you don't skip a row like I almost just did. I've had like 4 cups of coffee and I'm feeling so jittery. I don't know if you can like hear the tremble in my voice. I'm like ready to jump out of my own skin over here. So we're going to continue this task until you're at the very beginning of your loom. So I'm going to get this done really quickly and I'll be back in just a moment. Alright, so this is what your loom should look like once you have everything laid and looped in the middle. So I've already gone ahead and pushed my centers down a little bit. It's not that necessary, but now we can actually start the actual looping process. So once you are ready, you're going to grab a border band color and make a cap band on the very front center pin, like so. And now what we're going to do is loop up this center row all the way up. So that single chain we just laid, we're going to loop that up now. So go in your cap band, grab that top band, and you're going to bring that forward. And now you'll go inside, grab that single chain band, and bring it forward. It's the only band in there to grab. So it's the one you just laid, and we're going to just loop that all the way up. connect it to the top like that. And now we are going to loop the single chains that are on row 2 and 4 here. But we do have to go back in the cap band down here. And we're going to loop the bottom row out first. So bring them back to themselves. This one you have to move this pink band out of the way. I think. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. It's the next band going out. So loop it back to itself, grab that top band there, bring that back to itself. Stop there, do the left side, bring it back to itself, and back to itself again. So from here, we're going to loop up the 2nd and 4th row, and this is where you have to move that pink band out of the way to get to that purple band. So it's the very bottom band on this pin. Bring it forward. And we'll go all the way up just like we did on the center. So it's the very top band that you're grabbing and looping straight up. The rest of the looping is actually, well, I know we just started looping, but the looping is very straightforward. So the hardest part was actually like those center bands. So since this is straightforward, I'm going to go ahead and get it looped up, and I'll be back in just a moment and get you started on the right side. So I've completed my left side, and now I'm going to come to the 4th row to do my right side. So I'll start at the beginning, push back, grab the bottom band, and I'll bring that forward. Grab the top band, bring that forward. And we'll do the same thing we did on the other side. Straightforward single chain all the way up. And just to save on some more time, I'm going to get this done, and I'll be back in just a second. Okay, so I've completed that side now. So we're going to come back to the beginning. And now we need to do the same thing, except we need to do that on the sides. So again, this part is super easy. You can start on either one of these 2 corners, and we're just going to loop up the border side. So it's the top band. You're going to just grab it, bring it forward, and continue doing that. Grabbing it, bringing it forward, like so. After we loop up the bands that we're looping now into the other side, then the last thing we'll have to do is these white bands in here, and we will loop them like a zigzag. And that doesn't take too long at all. So once we do that, then we will be completed. Now, when you're doing this border that we're doing now, you're going to stop at the top corner pin. You can't loop it all the way up to the top because we have to do those bands I was just telling you about. So after that, just come back down to the other side. Complete the opposite border band. Loop that straight up all the way up. And when you have reached the top pin, I will come back and show you how to start the zigzag. So I'll be right back. So like I said, make sure you stop at the top over here like I did. Last thing we're going to do is come back to the beginning and loop our zigzag bands. Now the only thing that I would say is you will want to go through and just push down all of those bands because we're going to loop the zigzag now, and you're just going to want to have some room to put them on there. So we're going to start at the corners, doesn't matter which side. So I'll start on my left side. We'll push back, grab the bottom band. You're going to bring it back to itself, which will be over to the right. Then you're going to need to go inside that band, push back. There's a lot of bands in there, so make sure you're pushing everything out of the way and grabbing that very bottom band and bringing it back to itself, which will be to the left. We'll go in that one, grab the bottom band, bring it to the right. On the next one, grab the bottom band, bring it to the left. And we're going to go back and forth all the way up in the zigzag motion. So just make sure you're pushing everything out of the way and you'll be good to go. Past couple days it has been so beautiful out. I'm not a big fan of being cold, so these beautiful days I'm loving it. At least where I live it's been super gorgeous. My kids have been stuck in the house all winter, so they are just super excited to get out and play at the park and with their friends. Okay, I'm on my last one, which I'm bringing out back to itself. After I've done that, you're going to go in the pin and you're going to grab the very bottom band and you're going to loop these bands up to the center. So bottom band, bring it back to itself, and this is going to be your border color. Grab the bottom band again and bring it into the center to close that off there. And now you'll just go to the opposite side from what you started on and do the zigzag on that side, and you will zigzag that all the way up the same way you did the opposite side. So I'm going to get my right side completed and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so I've already reached the top of mine and I brought it into the top. Don't forget to bring yours in. And once you've done that, we're going to grab a hold of the band that we have laid here in the beginning. And we are going to hold on to it with our hand, go inside the top pin, grab the other side, bring the two together, and that's where we will attach our C-clip. So to take this one off of the loom, you're going to want to be very careful and just do one by one releasing them. I release all of the rows with my hook except the middle. Once I have everything released with my hook besides the middle, then I just pop it up off of the loom at that point. So go ahead and take a moment to do that, and I'll show you my finished bracelet in just a second. Okay guys, so I just pulled my bracelet off of the loom and I did go through and start fiddling with it. This is actually the messiest version that has came out thus far, and I've made about 5 of this. So I don't know why that happened, maybe the looseness of the bands that I used, but it is very fixable. You do want to give it a stretch like this when you take it off, just so that those center chain bands in there can get pulled tighter. You can go on the back side with your fingers and go down the entire single chain and pull this back band out. That also helps tighten it up in here as well. And the last thing, to get it nice and neat on the front, the most important thing I would say is these pink bands. Whatever bands you use for where my pink is, you want them laying side by side and flat to get that nice clean look. Sometimes they are flipped around, like this bottom. This band here should actually be the top one. So you can use your finger or your hook and just switch places. Like swap the band places. Stretch it like that. And see, now it's laying straight. So you want to go through and do that if you are anal like I am. And to get that nice clean look with those bands. That's what you want to do. So that is it today for my Amandalyn bracelet. If you guys like my new design, please hit the like button down below. Also, don't forget to share your rendition with me on my Instagram at @LovesToLoom. I'd love to see them. I appreciate your time, guys, and I shall see you all soon at my next video. Thanks so much. Bye.